Good afternoon. It's Sunday, August 9th, 2020, and coming to you live from the Lonely Tree Media Studios in Ellensburg, Washington. This is the Best Lamm Sports Show. I'm your host, David Lamm, and with me, as always, is my son, Parker. Say hello, Parker.
What's going on, everybody?
We are streaming live on YouTube when we can figure out how to work it, by the way. A couple of technical difficulties this afternoon. Seems like every week, but that's okay. Coming to you live streaming on YouTube pretty much every weekend. We're on Twitter at Lamm Sports, on Facebook under the Best Lamm Sports Show. You can send us an email, lammsports@gmail.com, and please check out our new webpage, www.lammsports.com. That's LAMMSPORTS.com. You can find links to the past shows and this week's current trivia question on there. So, first part of our show, as always, brought to you by The Range in Yakima. The Range, hold on just a second here. I'm having one more technical difficulty. Awesome. So the Range is Central Washington's premier indoor shooting facility at 34,000 square feet. The Range is an all-inclusive facility offering firearm training, retail firearm sales and supplies, full gunsmithing and repairs, custom builds, and Cerakote services all under one roof. Open Tuesday through Sunday, 11 to 7. Go see our friends at The Range, 1701 Garrettson Lane in Yakima. The phone number is 509-571-1449. The Range, educate, equip, and empower. So, Parker, we got some stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we do.
There's
been a lot going on.
Yeah, and we promised that sports would come back, and now there's almost too much.
Yeah, we have not enough time.
And in another month, if everything goes off like it's supposed to, we're going to be hurting because there's a lot of sports to talk about because everything's playing all at once. So we got Blazers, we got Timbers, we got the PGA Championship, Major League Baseball, the Max decision on football, Big Sky also had a decision, Korean baseball, Formula One. I haven't even mentioned that this is our 2020 NFC preview show. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. So, why don't we start with our trivia question? And the trivia question is brought to you by Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. 3827 Fletcher Drive is Broken Boulder Vineyard and also downtown at 210 Oak Street. You can get more info literally email them, info@stavenstone.com or call 541-946-3750. That's 541-WINE-750. You can go to stavenstone.com. That's Stavenstone in Hood River, wines with personality. So our trivia question for the week, I know you're excited because,
Always excited to be humiliated.
This is I don't think this one's as difficult, but let's just say that with college football season, hopefully right around the corner, we're going to go college football this week. So this is the trivia question. Who is the oldest person to win the Heisman Memorial Trophy?
Ooh.
So that's what we want to know. Oldest person in terms of years and days. Who was it? So we will give you the answer at the end of the show. So what we're going to start with this week is the NBA. Portland Trailblazers, more specifically, lost a tough game Saturday night to the Clippers. 122-117. They couldn't get it done down the stretch. Damian Lillard misses 2 free throws late in the game. C.J. McCollum committed a terrible foul, an and one foul, giving the Clippers a 3-point play when the Blazers were up by 3 to tie the game. They looked good until the fourth quarter. Gary Trent Jr. is a shooting freaking machine, is he not?
Gary Trent Jr. is going to shoot C.J. McCollum out of Portland.
I think so. He was 6 of 10 from 3-point range against the Clippers. He is still the leading 3-point shooter in terms of percentage in the bubble. He had 22 points off the bench in 35 minutes for the Blazers. The only thing
that his dad only had 4 career 3-pointers made. They're like, where did he learn how to shoot?
Mom. So the only thing, it must have been, right? So the only thing I have, the only knock I have against Gary Trent Jr. is that he had 1 assist and 1 steal to go with his 22 points in 35 minutes. No rebounds.
He's not being asked to rebound.
Understood, but if you're going to be on the floor for 35 minutes, you need to be able to do something else other than just score 22 points because clearly they needed a little extra something. That's all I'm saying is there's everybody else here who played 30 minutes on the floor. Carmelo Anthony played 34 minutes, 21 points, 7 rebounds, and a block, right?
Carmelo Anthony's good.
So everybody else is contributing something else. Have done something else. That's all I'm saying. Am I wrong?
Probably, but only if he's being asked to. If he's not being asked to do it, then I find no fault in the guy.
Okay, so at the end of this game, and by the way, let's just say that the Blazers now are what are they, a game and a half back of Memphis. Portland's a game and a half back out of the 8th seed. They are a half a game ahead of the Phoenix Suns and San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs are beating the tar out of the Pelicans right now, 62-45 at the half. And the Raptors are beating Memphis 94-79. So Memphis is going to fall again. And if Portland, who plays Philadelphia today, plays the Sixers today, if they can get a win, Portland will be just a half game out of the 8th seed. And San Antonio will be 1 game back. So it's going to be tight. And it's going to be quite a race because the Phoenix Suns are 4-0 since joining the bubble, since they came back. And they are also tied with the San Antonio Spurs, just a half a game behind Portland. The Pelicans pretty much losing today will eliminate them from any real contention. And I thought it was rigged for them. But
rigged, that's a bold choice of words.
But Zion has not been good. Or let's say not been...
He's been okay.
Okay, he's been okay, but he didn't play for 2 games hardly. They played him 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then he played a whole game and he looked winded and they pulled him out in key stretches and it looks awkward.
And what you expect of him is that he's going to be the second coming of Michael Jordan or LeBron James. So you're not getting that.
Well, what I expect is that if you're going to tell me that he's in consideration for NBA Rookie of the Year, then he needs to act like it. And he's not. He has not looked like an NBA Rookie of the Year. I mean,
not at all. Not even in the slightest.
Not compared to John Morant.
I mean, he came back from his injury, his disability, whatever it was, in the regular season, and he played fantastic for a few games. But I don't know if he really played fantastic, like all around, or if it was just impressive to watch somebody do the things he does. But he's selective when he plays. He's selective about the shots he takes. He's selective about the times that he plays defense. I mean, the guy does not have the amount of hustle that you would expect from somebody, who's that level of pick. So I don't know. I'm not sold on him. I wasn't sold on him before. I'm definitely not now.
Yeah, I think that you're expecting, the hype was there. You watched him play at Duke, and he's explosive. Let's just say that. That's probably the best term I can use for him. He has explosive power plays at certain points where he blocks a shot, where he makes a dunk. He's exciting to watch, but he cannot do that for 40 minutes. He is not that player.
No longevity.
Yeah, and I think that if you're asking him to carry your basketball team and be your leading scorer or leading, or your all-star, I don't think he's that guy. I think he's a great 6th man is what he's going to end up being. The guy who can come in and give you 5, 6, 7 quality minutes in letting someone else rest a couple times a game.
And if he's got some sort of injury that's preventing him from playing, to the level that we're all expecting, then that's fine. But we don't know that. So I'm going based on what I see and what I'm hearing, which is that Zion's completely healthy. He just doesn't have it in him.
Right.
So Pelicans, feel free to comment to us. Let us know.
Yeah, feel free to share if you've got inside information. He's got a groin injury, he's got an ankle, whatever.
I would love to stop talking trash about him as soon as I know that this isn't just a fluke.
Right. I mean, if LeBron came out and did the kind of things that Zion's doing right now, you all of a sudden played him 15 minutes this game and this much this game, but kept him out during crucial times, and he's only scoring this, we would not be talking about LeBron James as an MVP candidate. There'd be it'd be ridiculous. So, and if you don't tell us that something's wrong, we assume LeBron James does LeBron James stuff every night. Right?
If LeBron James came out and didn't have at least one chase down block and a couple corner threes and a no-look pass to go with his 25 points and, 10 boards and 8 assists, if he didn't have that, I would go, okay, what's wrong with LeBron tonight? And then if he did it 3 or 4 nights in a row, I'd be like, okay, something's definitely wrong.
And that's exactly right. I feel like there's something wrong, and they're not telling us what it is. And dang it, we deserve to know, so we can stop calling him a chump on the radio. I mean, what? So let's move. You know what? At the end of that game, Dame was catching some flack. You want to comment on Patrick Beverley for a minute?
Yeah. Shut up. Pat, you didn't even get in the game, dude. Come on. Don't talk trash from the bench. It's not a good look. Also, didn't Dame just very recently bounce your team out of the playoffs? Or hasn't Dame taken you to school enough times by now that you should know that, okay, you missed a free throw? It's unlike him. Let's not give him too much flack for it, because guess what? You're on Dame's radar now. He's about to embarrass you. Last PG would happen last time he got on Dame's radar. It's not a good look, man.
Yeah, you kind of feel like the next time they see each other, he's gonna be aiming for 60, trying to just light
Even
light
though he's
you
about
up,
to have a career game, you know?
right? It does seem childish. I mean, it does seem like one of those things where, but let's admit, Dame's a little bit of a showboater. The waving goodbye at the end of the series after Paul
Yeah, but
George.
but Dame does
And-
not wave goodbye mid-series like Russell Westbrook. You know
No,
what I mean? Like
oh,
that's
no.
the difference. Dame gives you an answer, the final answer. Everyone else likes to talk in the middle of it.
I thought that was Allen Iverson.
Allen Iverson is the answer.
The answer.
That's the answer that Dame gives.
Oh, gotcha. All right.
What is Allen Iverson?
So let's move. Let's switch gears. Major League Soccer. Portland Timbers defeated the Philadelphia Union 2-1 on Wednesday night in the semifinals of the MLS is Back tournament in Orlando. Jeremy Abobasi and Sebastian Blanco each scored a goal. Portland held on to advance to the finals of the MLS is Back tournament. They will take on the home team Orlando City SC on Tuesday night in the finals. It was a nerve-wracking, relatively easy win.
They tried to lose.
Yeah, I hate those hold on to the lead games at the end. Those really, I mean, go score another goal and put it out of reach. No, it was one of those.
Kudos to Philly. They tried, man. They tried.
Yeah, they made a comeback. That's about all I can ask for a team. Excuse me. But MLS is planning to resume home soccer games starting this coming Wednesday. With no fans, they're following that MLB approach, which doesn't really seem to be working for the MLB as well as you'd like it to. But we'll see what happens. Maybe MLS has learned something. I would thought they were doing pretty well in the bubble itself, but now that they're going to try.
I can deduce that most of those guys are from other countries, and other countries seem to have COVID figured out. So ipso facto, MLS should be good.
Maybe. I mean, we would hope so, but I don't know for sure. I don't know how they're going to. You start putting those players back into their hometowns around fans, or not necessarily fans, but out in the public, just in general. When you go home, you're less likely to be concerned about it than you are when you're out somewhere else. You know what I mean? The bubble was the best place. That's why the NBA has worked so far.
The sense of emergency, you think, is gone when you're at home.
Right. You relax, you get comfortable, you get sloppy. Let's just say. But anyway, and then you got teams traveling on planes from town to town, and I think that's a bad situation. Just in general.
It's not like they're flying Delta. These guys are flying private. They got their own plane. They're doing all right.
Some of them.
That's true. I bet there's a couple MLS teams that fly commercial,
right.
But I don't know. When you're bringing a whole MLS team, how many players are on MLS roster? 30 total?
No, I think it's 20 something. They have
20 something
yeah.
plus 10 coaches tops.
Yeah, there's 6 or 7.
So let's just say there's 30 people. Yeah, I mean, you're going to
sure.
occupy a good bit of that plane.
Yeah. And if it's not a charter flight, if you didn't rent the whole plane, then you're sharing, shall we say? Right. But I don't know for sure how every team gets around. I'm just saying that's a possibility. And then you've got air crew. You got to make sure that they did the right thing. You know what I mean? Flight crew.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. And you got to walk through an airport. There's all kinds of ways for you to contract something when it wasn't necessarily your fault when you start putting people in travel situations. That's all. Anyway,
risk it to get the biscuit.
Hopefully it'll work. Hopefully it'll work out. Because we like the sports. We like watching it. We like talking about it.
So this soccer's been pretty good. I've been actually really impressed with the quality of soccer you've been getting.
It has gotten better.
It started sloppy.
Yeah, the first few games were a lot of 1-0 games that were really, really boring. With a lot of ping pong type soccer, ball bouncing back and forth, just bing, 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 and it didn't look like there was any control. Once they've started the knockout stages, it has been a lot better. So, I mean, hopefully the Timbers will, bring a a cup home, I guess, even if it's, and it might only be a once in a lifetime cup. This might be the only time there's ever a cup that says MLS is back. So, who's the only ever winner of the MLS is back cup? That's a future trivia question. Golf. You ready?
Yeah, I'm always excited for golf.
Okay, good. So the PGA Championship, the first major of the year, wrapping up today, the final round of the 102nd PGA Championship at TPC Harding Park in San Francisco. The leader after 3 rounds, Dustin Johnson at 9 under. He tees off at 1:50 Pacific time today. The leaders haven't even gone off yet because it's a West Coast thing. Tiger Woods made it to the weekend at even par, made the cut, and he shot a final round, I think it's 2 under 68. Putting him somewhere in the ballpark of 42nd. He shot a 3 under 67 today to finish at -1. He's up and down. He had some putting issues in the second and third round. His opening round was -2, and then he shot a 2 over, and then a 2 over, and then a 3 under today. So it was up and down. Is Tiger Woods going to win another championship? Going to win another tournament?
Gosh, I hope so, because the world needs Tiger.
Is he capable of winning a major? Because it seems like to me he goes off and practices or recoups or whatever it is he's doing. He's trying to get himself healthy to play in those tournaments, the PGA Championship, the U.S. Open, the Masters. He's trying to get ready for those and not doing any of those other tournaments. If he just focuses on the majors, does he have a chance to win another major is my question. Or is he one of those guys who he's done and now he's going to go to the senior tour and retire basically in about, 6 years? I think he's about 40. How old is Tiger? 44? 45? And winning.
You don't think Tiger is?
I don't feel like Tiger, he's being selective and it's not giving him enough practice. Does that make sense? He's not getting in a rhythm.
You think Tiger Woods isn't getting enough practice?
But
he's not at a golf course every day.
But it's not the same.
I do.
TV camera competition practice versus I'm out here and I'm hitting 27 shots from the same spot just to see what, get my ball right. You know what I mean? It's different. The live game practice is way different than the other practice. So I don't know. I feel like
I think he can. I think Tiger can continue to win minors and majors together. I don't think he needs to be selective. I think he needs to. And this is just saying with what I know about his injury issues, about his back pain and things like that. Like, assuming he's got it all under control, I think he's perfectly capable. I just think it's a focus thing. I think that Tiger doesn't think Tiger can do it entirely, and I think that's holding him back because golf's all that mental game.
It absolutely is too. All right, so Formula One, the Max Verstappen wins the Formula One's 70th anniversary Grand Prix at Silverstone Raceway in England this morning. Lewis Hamilton, the season leader, finished second, and his teammate Valtteri Bottas finished third. Those 3 guys have been like 1, 2, 3 in any order. You pick which one, like every race. And Lewis Hamilton is so good at this. This one race came down to a tire issue. It was a strategy move by Verstappen's Red Bull team. In which tires to start with, and it paid off. He ended up using the right tires at the right time because tires were an issue. It was hot in England. The tires were getting blisters on them and getting less traction, and they used just the right combination of things and managed to win fairly easily. It was in the end he won by about 10 seconds. So.
Now hold on. Tires blister?
Tires blister. So the track is hot.
Obviously.
And at what point in time they said that the surface temperature on the track was about 45 degrees Celsius. So that would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 120 something. And so you've got these tires made of rubber, obviously. And the rubber, they're smooth, they're slick, they're racing slicks, they don't have a tread on them. So what happens is you start going over things like, oh, hey, this guy slid off a little bit into the dirt, and now throws grass and dirt on the track and maybe a rock or two. And now you go over the top of that rock, and it makes this little indent in your tire, right? And
Sure.
And as you keep going around, it tears at the tire, and then it becomes this giant blister, so to speak, on the tire. Or there's little other pieces of hot rubber that are coming off from the car in front of you, right? And you run over the top of those, and now it makes a little bump on the tire because it kind of melds to your tire as you go around, and so now you've got this extra little lump of rubber that you're rubbing over the top of until it goes away, and that causes more issues. And these tires that they use are, even the hard composite tires are only good 30 some laps. And this race is 52 laps. They're not designed to race the entire race because there would be no, if you just threw on one set of tires and ran, then it would be the team with the best car if the tires never had an issue. You know what I mean? Pit stopping is part of the whole strategy of the whole thing, and changing tires and having the right tires on. And anyway, it was an interesting. The tires blister, and last week at the same racetrack, in the last 5 laps, 3 different cars had blowouts of tires. Yeah, because they were too hot. You slide a little bit across the track as you go around a corner, just a hair, and it rubs the tire on the pavement. You go over those bumps. When you're taking those corners, everything takes a little toll on the tires, and they eventually go out. So anyway, this one came down to a big strategy move, and it paid off for Team Red Bull, and congratulations to them. But if you haven't watched an F1 race, it is interesting. Everybody should probably do it. I know it starts early in the morning. I think this one started at 4:30 this morning.
Do you think Americans are just do we have a lot of F1 races here?
No,
in America?
No. There are none.
Do you think that Americans are just resistant to it, or do you think it's hey, we don't want to encroach on NASCAR's territory? Or
I think there's that. I think there's a feud, turf war, if you want to call it that. And everybody's seeing Talladega Nights. That's the first thing that pops into my mind. But I think that's probably part of it. I think that there's NASCAR owns the United States, and this is, if you start having Formula One races in there, you take away viewership, or they're competing on the same day for viewers, and so all this stuff happens in Europe, and it comes on at a different time. It comes on early in the morning on Sunday. If you're in Europe, it's prime time. But I think I think it's different, and that I think that your basic NASCAR fan doesn't understand Formula One racing, how it works, how the cars are. You know what I mean, and vice versa, probably. So
when you mean how the cars are, you mean like how they're not all. Well, so is Formula One the same where NASCAR like NASCAR where they're all designed to run at the same, or are the cars actually designed differently? Or do ones have advantages over others?
So they have guidelines. They have rules, certain parameters they have to fit into the engine size, the way the tires are created, the way the brake systems are made. There's all certain regulations and rules, and you can tweak a certain amount inside that. It's the same with NASCAR that it is with F1. But NASCAR is those cars that you say, oh, he's driving the Chevy Monte Carlo. Well, it's that in body only. The body thing that they slid over the top of the rest of the car looks like a Monte Carlo. But it isn't a Monte Carlo. Nothing under it's Monte Carlo. You know what I mean? So
not to mention they don't make the Monte Carlos anymore,
no, but that's a good question. Well, they used to.
I don't think that they.
That was the big car. That was the big NASCAR racing car. Anyway, but F1 races, F1 cars are not made like that. They don't have a body frame like that. It literally, an F1 car is an F1 car, and you see it. They build them kind of the same. They have the same basic principle and design. Some are a little more aerodynamic than others. They have certain little tweaks, but it all has to be within a certain parameter governed by the F1 body. And so yes, it's similar, but they're different. And they're made to go. These cars are hitting these straight stretches going 200 miles an hour, and carrying more speed on corners, and it's right-hand turns, it's left-hand turns, it's S turns, it's all kinds of stuff. And there's only 20 racers, and you're under a time limit, and you've got 3 different levels of tire they can, there's a soft, a medium, and a hard tire they can use depending upon if they need to go faster or longer. You know what I mean? So there's all this strategy.
It just became a whole educational program.
It is crazy, and you don't realize it. Just watch a race. And you'll watch them, and it's fun. It doesn't have the same NASCAR, 20 car pileups. There's only 20 cars in the race. It doesn't have, the drafting where they're following each other, a foot off of the guy's bumper. There's no rubbing is racing on this. They do bump occasionally when they're fighting for position, but they don't have that same. It is more of a strategy. Timing, when can I accelerate and get by the guy? It's different. It has a different feel to it. It's more, I want to say, almost more gentlemanly racing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas, oh, the guy in front of me made me angry, so I'm going to bump him in the back with my, I'm going to nudge him, and he goes flying into the wall, which happens in NASCAR all the time. You don't see that in F1. So it's interesting. I just suggest everybody, if you haven't ever seen one, you should watch one because it's fun. It doesn't take as long. It's
that's an attractive option right there.
Right. Yeah. You don't have to watch 600 miles of racing. It's 52 laps around this track, and it takes, if there's no cautions, which there weren't in this race, if there's no cautions, it's about a minute 20 something a lap.
What? So, that's really fast.
Yeah. So so there it gets over with in what, an hour and a half, if there's no issues. So anyway, watch F1 in the morning.
I will. I'll check out.
It's on early.
I can speak to it.
Yeah, it's on early. You can watch qualifying on Saturday mornings, or you can watch the actual races come on Sunday mornings. But it's pretty early in the morning. Just record it. Watch it later. That's what I would do. So anyway, let's let's move.
Lesson over.
Right. Lesson over. And so now, second half of the show brought to you by Boss Kitty Hand-Dyed Yarns. Go to BossKittyShop.com for your yarns and notions. Pick up a BossKittyShop.com gift card. As a special treat for our listeners, they're offering a one-time use coupon, 15% off your next purchase. Just use the coupon code LAMMSPORTS, LAMMSPORTS at checkout. BossKittyShop.com. You can also check out BossKittyLive.com, where they have live shows and they create something. They talk about all kinds of crazy stuff. You just check it out. I'm sure. I am not a yarn person. I don't knit. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. I'm not even really crafty. However, it is fun to watch. They talk about all kinds of things, and there's a lot of topics that happen while these people get together. Anyway, that's BossKittyLive.com also. Boss Kitty, yarn so boss, you'll knit your pants. So, second half of the show has a couple things. First of all, because we do this every week, and we're going to continue to do this, Korean baseball. And the NC Dinos are 46-26 at this point in the season, and they have a 3.5 game lead. 3.5? 3 games over the Kiwoom Heroes, who are 47-33. The enthusiasm for Korean baseball has fizzled a little bit at my house.
What?
Well, and that's partly because I started watching F1 races, which take up their early morning, time slot. So I haven't been watching nearly as much Korean baseball, but I will say this, that the KT Wiz defeated the Hanwha Eagles 6-3 this morning. The Kiwoom Heroes or the LG Twins 2-1. Doosan Bears and the Lotte Giants got postponed. The NC Dinos beat the Kia Tigers 8-1, and the Samsung Lions and the SK Wyverns were also postponed. So there you go. That was your scores from this morning. I know you're excited. Don't try and hide it. Which brings us to real baseball. Oh, I shouldn't say it that way. But it brings us to MLB baseball, which is almost real baseball. So let's talk a little bit about the MLB standings so far. Yankees lead the American League East. They have a 2.5 game lead over the Orioles. The Twins are leading the Central, and they have a 1.5 game lead over the Tigers and the Indians. The Oakland Athletics lead the West. They have a 4.5 game lead over the Houston Astros, who do not look good, and it's probably payback for the cheating thing, right? Whatever. And in the National League, the Marlins, who had that COVID outbreak early, are 7-2, and they lead the Braves by a game. In the Central, the Cubs are 10-3. They lead the Reds and the Cardinals by 4 games. In the West, it's the Rockies at 11-3, and they lead the Dodgers by a 1.5 games. The Cardinals have played 5 games so far, and everyone else has played about, 13? Give or take, at least. And they're still getting postponed. Their game Monday against the Pirates is postponed. And I like we talked about earlier, I was looking at the schedule for the Cardinals for what they have the rest of the season. They have to play a lot of games in a little bit of time. And one of those stretches is against the Milwaukee Brewers, where they are literally going to play 5 games in 3 days in September. A doubleheader on a Monday, a single game on Tuesday, and another doubleheader on Wednesday. I don't know where they're going to find the pitching arms to do that. That is a tough thing to do in Major League Baseball, is have that many pitchers available in that short of time. because you're not going to get any rest from then to the next series when the very next day, they start on Thursday. They start a 4-game series with the Pirates. So I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know how they're going to make up all the games that they missed. You're making up 10 games in a span of 2 months, and normally you don't have more than a day a week off. And the schedule I'm looking at for the Cardinals has 2 days off from between now and the end of the season. So they're going to have to squeeze doubleheaders in wherever they can and try and catch up. But I feel like you're going to get to the end of the season and not everybody will have played 60 games.
Yeah, it's possible. And I'm not sure how they're going to decide, but it'll be taken into consideration when they're deciding playoff teams. Like, it'll have to be. There's no way you can avoid that.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think that they've got some kind of protocol. I hate to call it a protocol.
Tiebreaker.
Yeah, built in, but when not everybody plays the same amount of games, it is really hard to compare who's the better teams, because now you're telling me that we didn't play the same number of games, and not only that, we couldn't have played the exact same teams the same number of times. So we can't even compare whether we've played the same teams and beat the same teams. It becomes a mess. I don't know how you do that, especially if a team is 5 games less than you. Right? I mean, that's a lot. Yeah. A game or 2, I can deal with that, but 5 games that's a big deal over 60 games. Over a 60-game season, you played 5 games less than me. You only played 55. I played 60. I don't think there's a way to compare that. I just think that's a problem, and you should have just canceled the Cardinals, or you should have canceled the Marlins at some point maybe, and not let them go forward, and then adjusted everyone else's schedule so that all those games don't count. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't know.
I think it's too tough of a thing. I think that there's going to need to be a lot of patience on the part of the fans with this season, just because, like, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of uncharted territory. We're not 100% sure how they're going to handle it, but we know that they're going to try to. They're not going to let a team in that does not deserve to be in. I just don't believe it's going to happen.
You would hope not. And the last game they played, the Cardinals, by the way, was July 29th against the Twins. So they've also had all this rest.
Oh, yeah, they're going to be nice and healthy.
I don't know if that's
just to ruin all their pitchers' arms.
I don't know if that's the right term, but yeah, it just seems like a mess. It seems like it is extremely hard to make stuff up in a shortened season like that. If you have a regular Major League Baseball season and you miss a game, you can make it up somewhere on the line because you're going to play that team again a number of times usually. But in a shortened season where you only have so many days, now you're starting to shove extra games in and making it harder even for a team that, it's not their fault. Maybe it is. I don't know. That's a whole nother topic we probably should discuss at some point in time. Who's at fault for catching, for an outbreak on the team? Does the team following the protocols? Is it MLB's protocols aren't necessarily right? Is it a certain player on the team? What's going on? Is it the officials at the ballpark? We don't know. So that makes it hard for us to determine who, you're punishing a St. Louis team now for having an outbreak, and now they've got to play all these extra games over the same amount of time as everyone else just to catch up. And I'm not sure that that's fair or equal. And if they're not to blame, if the team didn't do anything wrong, it just happens, and that's not really a fair way to go about it either. So I don't know. This was bound to happen. So I feel like it's going to happen in the other sports too.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that any sport that tries to exist right now is going to endure the COVID crisis at some point. And then when that happens, they're going to endure questions about fairness and are the games, being properly played? Are people being responsible? Is it responsible to even play? No matter what you do, you're going to endure these questions if you try and play sports right now. Football is dealing with it at a very high level right now. Everyone's asking them, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to keep us safe? How are you going to keep us safe? So, yeah, it's a really interesting time to be trying to play a team sport, to trying to manage a team sport if you're a league.
So, and now that you brought that up, let's move to the NCAA, who I feel like is in big trouble. NCAA football, I feel like, is headed for a postponement of the whole season. Yeah, so the MAC announced that there will not be any MACtion this fall, which is their hashtag, MACtion. which I love, by the way. So first of all, last Wednesday, the UConn canceled their season.
I remember that. That was pretty big.
UConn's an independent, not associated with a conference now, and while it was probably not a gigantic statement that they canceled the season, it is a FBS program that opts out, and the first one that said no, we're not going to play. So that happened, and then the MAC comes in, and let's be honest, the MAC not playing at all hurts the Big Ten. When they would have non-conference games, who does the Big Ten play? That the MAC is their whipping boy, right?
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah,
they're gonna have no one to beat up on this year. That's gonna be a really sad day.
Which makes me wonder if the MAC decided this, and one of the reasons I'm sure is safety, player safety, but another big reason had to be, we're not going to get any big time paydays for playing Michigan and Ohio State and Wisconsin and getting beat up by these teams. So why play? Yeah, what's the point? So that becomes a problem, because now these other smaller FBS conferences, I think, are in the same boat. And then you're going to have a Power 5 conference say the same thing. And the Pac-12 presidents and chancellors are set to meet on Tuesday. They may be the first of the Power 5 conferences to say, nope, we're not doing it. They've got the turmoil with the players going on. We are united.
Is it even worth it?
Right. Yeah. Is it even worth it at this point? All we can do is play a conference schedule. The Pac-12's whooping boys are, the Mountain West, and every decision the Pac-12 makes affects everybody else on the West Coast. Plus, you've also got some issues with the locations of the Pac-12 schools, Arizona, California, where the outbreak is still happening. It's still trending up.
Still prevalent. Yep.
Yeah, so it makes it really hard. If I was University of Washington, I don't really want to go take my team and travel to Arizona State and play in Phoenix, Tempe.
Yeah.
That's out of abundance of caution. It seems like that would be the wrong thing to do, just because the state is in a bad situation, and the odds are that there's going to be, at least one of those players is going to have it. I think that's kind of inevitable, because you've seen it, and the Big Ten has postponed their moving forward. Normally they move from phase 1, which is like helmets only, and then they move into padded practices. They're not moving forward, the Big Ten. They're staying in their helmet only phase right now. They've announced that. So I feel like one of these conferences, Big Ten, Pac-12, is going to announce we're not playing football, and that's the first.
Yeah, it's bound to happen here any minute now.
Yeah, that's the first domino, and I think then all the rest of them will just fold too. But that's just my opinion. Big Sky, as you mentioned earlier, Big Sky announced also that they've postponed football until spring, which I think is the way that all the FCS schools were going anyway. And I kind of look forward to that. I think that FCS spring football might be fun to watch, because I'll be honest with you, I don't watch college baseball. I don't even want to watch the MLB baseball most of the time, but I won't watch college baseball on TV, especially. But I would watch FCS football. That would be fun to watch in the spring. So that is a whole nother logistical nightmare that they're going to have to cross when they get to.
They'll be just.
There are other places where I'm just saying the weather differential, in March is different than, let's say, October. But anyway, whatever. Anyway, I just feel like it's going to be interesting. I would like to watch spring football. I think that would be great. That would be a filler.
It would be interesting.
Yeah. I would look forward to it. But anyway, I don't know that the Power 5 teams will do that. I think they might just cancel the damn thing and just say we'll start over next year.
They should.
Probably.
I mean, there's no point in rushing into something that's going to get people hurt, people sick, or cost you tons of money, or even worse, give the fans a crappy product.
It's true.
Because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about, is the fans. Are the fans getting what they're... Because that's why you do it, is to make money.
Yeah, and it brought in a couple questions that I was asking you before we went on, which was, one, if you have spring football, that rolls right into the April draft, the NFL draft. And if you were a senior playing your last season, would you want... if you get hurt, twist an ankle or something in November or December... It's different. You have time to recover before the April draft. If you get hurt in March, in April, playing spring football, 1 week ahead of the draft, your draft stock just might have taken a huge hit.
Yeah, it's too much. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't put myself at that sort of risk, because when you're being drafted, they're thinking, okay, he tore his ACL in November. He'll be ready to go by the start of next season.
Right.
But if you tore your ACL in February, you're not good to go until January of next year, and now you're useless next year.
Yep, you're going to miss the first season.
Now you go from a first-round pick, impactful immediately, to a third-round pick, which means you lose a couple million.
And that brings up a secondary question, which is, if let's say you're a college football senior and you play a 10-game conference only and then a conference championship game. So let's say you play in 11 games in the spring, and that runs from, March through the first, couple weeks of May. And you get drafted, and now you're going to go report after just finishing football in May. You're going to go report to training camp in August and play a 16-game season. So you're going to play 29, 8, 30 games in a 1 year, span with like 2 months rest. That seems to me to be a lot of wear and tear you'd put on your body. I don't know if a 22-year-old's ready to have that much put on him, but I mean, maybe.
Let's be real. These aren't 40-year-olds. Like
no.
22-year-olds.
Yeah.
Anybody can handle the wear and tear with the young guys.
You would think so, but I mean, nobody's ever done that before, so we wouldn't know the physical impact it's going to take on these players. We have no idea because nobody's ever tried to play 27 games in a 12-month span. That just doesn't happen.
I guarantee somebody has left college, gone to play European football because they had a league over there,
but that's
then played it, and then come back, played NFL for a year. I know that it's happened.
Yeah, but that doesn't count. That's European football. NFL Europe, just because they played for Amsterdam doesn't mean they played football. I don't know. I every league. Have you noticed that every league? And are you looking forward to the XFL coming back? By the way.
Well, Under the Rock?
Under the Rock, yeah. Is it because it worked so well the first 2 times?
So I don't know much about the first time. I was young when it was around, and I remember it being brutal, but that's about it. This time I didn't see a problem with it. I thought they kind of got screwed. Like they were doing all right. The games were entertaining. Yeah, it was a lesser product, but so is a AA game. You don't watch it thinking you're going to get a major league game, then you're going to be okay. If you go into it knowing it's a AA football game, then you're going to be all right. You're going to be impressed with the product you see, and you're going to say things like, oh, man, maybe that guy can get to the league. That's what the whole thing is for.
Yeah.
So I think people who did not like it were expecting NFL quality product, not from the NFL. And I think that's where you're going to be mistaken. The announcers weren't as good. The fields weren't as good. The fans weren't there. Everything was less. So if you were upset by it, or if you didn't think it was very good, it's because your expectations were far too lofty for the sport.
So this last iteration of the XFL, yes, was a bad timing. They were just a product of bad timing, the league folding, because they were just getting going, and I think that had more to do with it than anything. I will tell you this: the USFL, I watched USFL football games. Those were more like NFL, and at the time, Jim Kelly played in the USFL. Herschel Walker played in the USFL. They had real players. Yeah, they had real players playing real football. Yeah, it was summer football. It was different, but it was still a decent product at the time. Of course, the NFL didn't like it because they were competing, and that's just kind of how it is. So I don't know how the NFL supports the XFL if they do. You would think they would use it as a minor league, so to speak.
Yes, use it to farm players. Right. That's absolutely what they should be doing with it.
Right, and that you think
they shouldn't be distancing themselves. They should be embracing it.
Right, as opposed to a farm league in Europe, which is what they tried. Let's go put these guys over in Germany and have them play football. Okay. Anyway, I hope they do well. I don't think it will survive. I just think it's one of those things where you just can't compete with the NFL, because if you get too big, the NFL will get worried, and they're not going to support you at all. And if you're not big enough, how do you get enough fans to be big enough? Do you see what I'm saying? It's like a catch-22 to me.
Well, right now they have an opportunity to, if they embrace the XFL, the NFL does, if they embrace the XFL, not only are they embracing it, they're embracing The Rock, who's probably the most loved celebrity next to Tom Hanks and a couple other dudes. Like he's right up there with the good guys in acting.
Well, you'd think that if
So,
you think that if The Rock went out and got Tom Hanks as an investor, and that was they could be the face of make Tom Hanks the commissioner of the XFL. There you go.
Wow, that'd be too cool.
That's your answer right there. He'd be the face of the whole thing. I don't know. Put him on all your commercials. Anyway, but again, you got to have some money to do that. So, because I think Tom's not cheap. So let's. I don't know. Maybe he'll just do anything because I've seen him on Saturday Night Live. Do you think it's possible
that Tom Hanks got paid more to do Mr. Rogers than Mr. Rogers ever got paid?
I think that is a definite. I don't even think that's a question. I'm positive he got paid more for that one stint as Mr. Rogers than Mr. Rogers did for however many seasons he was on public broadcasting doing Mr. Rogers. Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Rogers had a $3 million net worth when his life came to an end.
Oh.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, he definitely made more.
Yeah.
That's but he also was doing the show at a time when $3 million was worth quite a lot more.
And I watched Mr. Rogers growing up. I watched Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I thought it was great. That was a great show. Anyway, I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. I'm going to admit it. I haven't seen the movie. Have you seen the movie?
I saw part of it. I actually fell asleep.
Oh.
That's not an indictment of the film. That is merely just I had a rough week.
A ringing endorsement of the film. Anyway, so we're going to move on. We've got one more thing to cover, and that is our NFC preview for the upcoming season. And we did the AFC, although we didn't make any real predictions. We didn't actually go out on a limb and say who was going to win the AFC, did we?
I thought I did.
You might. Oh, you might have, but I'm not going to hold you to it because I didn't write it down. So, but I think we'll save that for next week. So, well, not next week. It'll be 2 weeks. We'll explain that in a little bit. But anyway, so I feel like this week we're just talking about the NFC real quick. Talk about who the teams are, who's the player, who's going to drive that division. We'll talk about each division, and then next week or the next show we will talk about who's going to win the NFL, who's going to win the Super Bowl next year, if they have one. So. Okay. Let's start with the NFC West because it's closest to us. And Seahawks, Cardinals, Niners, Rams. Who is the best team in that division?
I think that Seattle's the best team in the division, but I think that they still have to prove they can get over the 49ers. Because the 49ers lost some defensive pieces, but man, they plugged in just as many good ones as they lost. So I don't know. I think that the problems. I think the 49ers are going to have a harder schedule because they played for the Super Bowl last year and things like that. But I think it's the Seahawks division to lose if Russell Wilson keeps playing at the level he played at last year.
So I've given this one a lot of thought because this division was for a little bit of time probably the toughest division in football. I thought anyway. The Seahawks are going to be good. Russell Wilson is good. He's in my opinion, he's borderline great. He's right. He's good. Let's call him that.
He's good.
I'm not, but I'm also not going to tell you that Jimmy Garoppolo is a great quarterback.
I wouldn't even call him, I might call him a good
He's good. He's solid.
He's good enough.
So you got Jared Goff, right? Who started out good, and I don't know. But I honestly think that Kyler Murray has the potential to be the best quarterback in this division.
Oof, that's a bold take.
I do.
I don't like Kyler Murray. I think he's all in his head.
Well, I think that by the end of last year, the Cardinals were much better, a much better football team than they were when they started the season. And that was Kyler Murray getting in and getting comfortable and growing. Yeah. So I feel like he threw for 3,700 yards last year. I feel like that's pretty good. 3,700 yards. Larry Fitzgerald was still there. I think is still there.
Larry Fitzgerald's never going away. We just have to deal with this.
He's how old is Larry Fitzgerald? I have to know. I got to look it up because I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm going to look and see how old Larry Fitzgerald is. But he seems like he's been around forever. He's 36, by the way. 17 years he's been
Did you
playing.
know he was a ball boy in the NFL before he was a player?
No, I
So
did not.
even before he got drafted, he was still around.
So he's been in the NFL since he was old enough to walk, pretty much. He had 75 catches, 804 yards last year, only 4 touchdowns, which was kind of a letdown. But I think a lot of that has to do with, I don't know. I can't be honest. Some of that has to do with the other teams, that the defenses, and like I said, Kyler Murray is just emerging as a good player in the NFL, and I think you're going to see a leap and bound this year. The Cardinals started off 0-3-1 last year, and then came on and they were winning games. So I feel like there's a chance, but clearly San Francisco I think has the best defense out there.
Yeah.
And the Seahawks may have the best balanced team. But I don't know which one of those is going to win out. And then I think the Rams are – I'm going to pick the Rams to finish last.
My concern with the Seahawks is that they're one big injury on either side of the ball from being decimated.
It's true.
If Russell Wilson goes down, that team, no dice. 7 wins, best. Even with their defense, 7 wins. If Bobby Wagner goes down on the other side, I'm still thinking about the same thing. They have a better chance because you can still score points and maybe you can outscore somebody. But, man, 8-9 wins, they're this close to being out of it because of a couple big pieces. If Bobby Wagner doesn't force his 6 fumbles a year at key moments in games, seal you wins. I mean, because let's be real, they should have lost quite a few games, but some ball security issues for other teams have helped them win. Bobby's huge. Bobby and Russell Wilson are the 2 biggest pieces on that team, and both of them are not young. Russell Wilson's not old, but he's not young. Bobby's a little older, but man, it's going to be tough. They need to be careful.
I'm going to say this about the Seahawks. Russell Wilson threw 516 pass attempts last year. Josh Gordon threw 1. He's the second leading passer on the team.
Josh Gordon, nice.
So it was an interception, but he's
his passer rating is garbage.
He's the second leading passer on the team. So yeah, I mean, if something were to happen to Russell, I don't even know who's the backup, because no one played last year other than Russell Wilson. That he is the team.
That's the huge benefit of a healthy quarterback.
Yeah, well, it's true, and he rarely gets hurt, and hopefully I didn't jinx him, but anyway,
that wouldn't be great.
Anyway, so if I had to pick a division winner, I'm going to pick the Niners.
Okay.
Just ahead of the Seahawks, just ahead of the Cardinals, and then the Rams in last place. That's my personal thought. All right, so we're going to move. You ready?
Yep.
We're going north. So the NFC North: Lions, Bears, Packers, Vikings. Oh my! Who is the best team in the North?
Man, it might be a shocker.
Okay.
I think it's the Bears with a different quarterback.
Really?
Not Trubisky. Because their defense had everything they needed to be successful. Their offense had pieces galore. But for whatever reason, they had the guy with the box of rocks, Trubisky, and he just could not figure it out. He didn't know when to run. He didn't know when to pass. He made consistently bad decisions. It just, he was frustrating to watch. With anybody else, they're a much better team. And they were still an 8-win team last year. So with anybody else, they're a 10-11 win team.
I feel like what you're telling me is, and first of all, don't hold anything back when you're talking about Trubisky. But I feel like what you're telling me is Chicago is a good football team that had a crappy quarterback, and that's the reason they finished 8-8.
Yep.
Okay. Green Bay was 13-3 last year, and everyone's telling me that Aaron Rodgers is done. So someone explain that to me.
Those people just don't like Aaron Rodgers. That's all that is.
Yeah. Oh, Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, he's not. He's just a shell of what he was. 13-3.
Still really good. Yeah.
Did they not win a playoff game? I mean, yeah. I'm confused as to how all of a sudden. Well, and he did that without any help, and then they went to the draft and they didn't help him anymore. I don't know. That seems really difficult. They were mediocre. The Packers in every category last year. Rushing yards, 15th in the NFL. Passing yards, 17th. Points for, 15th. Points against, 24th. So they were not great in any statistical category, and maybe that's what everybody's pointing to is that Aaron Rodgers didn't have the kind of year that he normally has. I will tell you this: how many interceptions did Aaron Rodgers throw last year? You might know. Did he? Did he throw one? Because I don't see them. I never saw one.
Oh, he usually throws at least a couple.
I did not watch every game, but I'm telling you this: I did not see him throw interception. And normally, I can. So he threw 4 last year. Right? 26 touchdowns and 4 interceptions last year. Pat Mahomes threw 26 touchdowns and 5 interceptions last year. And they want to tell me that Aaron Rodgers can't play football or that he's not good enough and that what's his name, Love is going to replace him. Okay. Well,
yeah, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I don't buy that. I think he was dealing with subpar team. You know what I mean? His receivers, his running backs, there were injuries, there were issues. I get it. But if you put a team around him, that is still a very, very good quarterback.
Concern is I don't think they did that. I don't think they went out and got a team.
No, they didn't. You're right. And so that brings me to, if I was going to pick a team, it would be between the Packers and the Vikings. And I don't know. I still think that the Packers are going to be better this year than they were last year. And last year they were 13-3. I think they're going to be better this year. Yes, they didn't add anything to them, but they start off healthy, and if they can keep away from getting some of the injuries that cost them last year, I think they're still in better shape with the leadership of Aaron Rodgers because he makes great decisions. So I like that in a guy. However, Aaron Rodgers did get sacked 36 times last year.
Woo.
Well, the sack totals were up. I mean, last year, Matt Ryan, Russell Wilson, 48 times. I mean,
I wonder if they were like calling plays dead faster.
That's a three a game. Kyler Murray, 48 times. Jameis Winston, 47 times. And so those guys that can run the football, Patrick Mahomes, 17 times. Ooh. He takes less sacks.
Wait, hold on. Russell Wilson can run the football, and he still got sacked 48.
Russell Wilson cannot run the football like Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson. Right? I mean, he's not slow.
I don't know if I believe that. He's so good.
Russell Wilson is quick. He's quick. He's decisive. But he's not fast. Does that make sense?
That's fair.
There's a difference between, if you let's be honest, if you put him in a race with Deshaun Watson, who's going to win? Just
Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. Patrick Mahomes going to win. He's fast enough to do what he needs to do, and he's quick. He makes quick moves, and he's very slippery. But he's not straight line speed fast. So, I mean, I get it. But 48 times could have been, and that's a product of your offensive line, too.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just happens. Drew Brees, 12 times last year. Drew Brees not fast, but he had an offensive line that stayed healthy all year, and, he only played 11 games. So, but still, he was not on pace to get sacked a billion times. So, I don't know. Sacks take a lot of toll. I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to go with the Packers. They're going to win the division again, and Jordan Love has to wait another year to take over. Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, that's 2 in a row, right? You're telling me that my Cardinal pick, that Kyler Murray is going to be the best quarterback in that division. You said that was wrong.
That's not what I said.
Oh, okay. All right. So
I just said I don't believe it.
Didn't say it was wrong. I just said I don't believe it. Okay, I got you. Right. The NFC East is next because we're saving the fun one for last.
Division in football.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm an Eagles fan if I'm going to pick one team from this division, but I don't really care for any of these teams in this division.
But if you didn't have to pick,
if you told me not, that I don't have to pick one of these teams, good, because I don't like any of them. I'm going to pick first. I'm going to tell you this. I think the Cowboys are headed for dismantling at some point here shortly. Strife not signing when they, could have signed. I think Dak Prescott is going to be out of Dallas before long. And I just do. There's no other way around it. Now, does that mean the Eagles can do what they did last year and knock them out on the last game of the season? Probably not. But I think the Cowboys are probably the most talented team in this division. And I still think that the Eagles are going to win the division.
I agree. I concur.
But I want to watch Chase Young. That is what I'm most interested to see in this division, to see if he alone can help the Washington football team win some football games.
You can have that impact.
And yeah, because I think you saw what he did in college. So
yeah.
I feel like he's that kind of player, that one player that you put him on the field, he's Myles Garrett, only without the helmet swinging. He's he's JJ Watt. He's JJ Watt without the every year injury. He's, you know what I mean? So, but I feel like he's got that potential to be that guy to make 2 or 3 gigantic plays a game that just turn the game around.
Yeah,
so
that's fair. I definitely think he is that guy. I was not sold on him at first, but the more I look at it, the more I look at the kind of what I think he's going to do. I think he's going to be really impressive.
Yeah, and he's got everything you want: size, speed, strength. He's athletic. I mean, I've even seen him catch footballs, so you know, it's impressive. So I think he's one of those players. It'll be interesting to see if Washington gets good at all, or if he's going to be stuck on a mediocre football team and then eventually just he wants to leave and go play somewhere where there's good football. It'd be interesting to see if they have a terrible year this year. Let's say Washington goes 2-14. How long before someone comes courting Chase Young to be on their team, to be the other lineman opposite J.J. Watt, to be the other, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think it'd be that long. I think that somebody's going to do it, and then he's probably going to try and leave his team, leave his contract. Trade me or I'm sitting.
Especially if he turns out to be really, really good and the team is really, really bad.
Yeah.
But
it's unfortunate, but it'll happen.
All right, we got one last division.
Woo.
And this is where the excitement is this year in the NFC. Am I wrong?
No, you were not wrong at all. This is the big one.
Buccaneers, Saints.
Wait, hold on. Did I say who I thought would win last year? The other division, last one?
You said you agreed with me. I said Philadelphia was going to win.
Yeah, okay. Yep, sorry.
It's okay. Buccaneers, Saints, Falcons, Panthers. So now you have Matt Ryan, you have Drew Brees, you have Teddy Bridgewater,
the most important part,
who I don't think has ever lost a football game, and you have Tom Brady now. So can Tom Brady, Gronk, and the 2 wide receivers be enough for Tampa Bay to win this division?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm gonna say no. Because I think this is Teddy B's division to win.
Really?
Yep. I think that the Panthers are gonna be the guys.
This is the Carolina Panthers we're talking about, right?
Yes, the Carolina Panthers.
All right, I just want to clarify that you're talking about the same Panthers I'm talking about.
Same team.
You know they were 5-11 last year.
I'm aware of what they were.
Okay. All right. I want to give you a chance to tell me why. So you think the addition of Teddy Bridgewater and the exit of Cam Newton is going to turn that team around? And I know they got Christian McCaffrey, who's probably the best.
There's one more piece to that, right?
Okay.
The exit of Ron Rivera.
You think that's important?
Yes, I think it's huge. I think that at some point, with what's going on with Cam and his shenanigans and other players and things like that, I think that at some point you have a coach who wasn't considering his entire team. He was considering a few pieces. And I think that young coaches, newer coaches, are more likely to take things under consideration. I think Christian McCaffrey is going to get a lot more touches. And I think that it's going to be huge. I think you're going to see Christian McCaffrey throw the ball more than anybody else in the any other second piece in the league.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Watch, Teddy Bridgewater is going to have 2 touchdown catches this year.
Well, he is. Teddy Bridgewater is pretty athletic, or he was. He was before he had the knee issue.
I'm not concerned. He was when he came back for the Saints.
Yeah, he's okay, but he's okay. Christian McCaffrey is probably the best. I'm going to label him as the best NFL player that's not a quarterback, offensive player, by far.
That's kind of a weird backhanded statement.
Well, no, because let's be honest, I still think Lamar Jackson is probably the best football player in the NFL.
Ooh, that's bold. I would have said Christian McCaffrey.
I would say that if Christian McCaffrey threw the football, but I'm going to tell you that Lamar Jackson ran for nearly as many yards as Christian McCaffrey.
Here's the thing, though. Do you doubt that Christian McCaffrey could throw the football?
Well, he's short for one. That's going to make it harder. He has to do it on sweeps and he can't do it from the pocket. He won't be able to see anything. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't have the athletic ability. I'm just saying he cannot throw the football like Lamar Jackson, who threw 30 touchdown passes last year, 35, 36,
Not that much.
and ran for 1,200 yards.
Yeah,
So
that's not a big deal.
yeah, it's anybody could do that. I think
I'm just saying if everyone if all the running backs in the league got the opportunity to throw the ball like the running back, I don't care what you say. I know he was offended by being called a running back, but the dude ran for 1,200 yards. He just also happens to get plays called where he could throw the ball. Like that's how his career is going.
Well, let's be honest. That the whole Oregon Duck offense was built on that for a number of years.
Yes,
that's
how it went.
Let's find ourselves a running back that can throw the football. And right. Yeah, I mean that was Darren Thomas. There's
nothing wrong with that.
Jeremiah Masoli. That was, and then they finally found a quarterback that could run, and that turned it around a little bit. But I feel like this division is still going to be Drew Brees and the Saints, and I think they don't lose anything. If Drew Brees stays healthy all year, they still have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He's still leading the team. They didn't lose any players other than the backup quarterback, really. I still think they're the best team in that division. Tampa Bay's offense is going to be better in terms of overall, but Tom Brady is not going to throw for 5,000 yards next year.
I don't think so, no.
No, there's not a chance. Jameis Winston did that last year.
Tom Brady stepped back.
No, Tom Brady doesn't do that. And if his offensive line isn't A1 healthy, Tom Brady is that guy that literally says, oh, there's pressure coming. I'm going to immediately check it. Oh, I don't have time to check. I'm going to go down. He doesn't even wait for the outcome of the sack. He just goes down.
And that's how you get 48 sacks in a season.
Yeah, those guys tend to avoid getting hit, and that's how come they stay in games. There's that. So when you talk about a healthy quarterback, that's one of the reasons they stay healthy is because they avoid the contact. But
it's playing smart, yeah.
But Tom Brady's been doing that for 20 years.
Yes,
avoiding contact or getting the rules changed so he doesn't have to face contact.
Shots fired.
I'm just saying, I'm full of it today, and Tom Brady is one of those guys that I absolutely respect his talent, his ability to do what he does. I can't do it. It's fantastic. However, he's been given every advantage possible. Balls inflated to the right size, rule changes to not hit him in the face, tuck rules. Everything is to his advantage. Everything has been made for Tom Brady to be good.
He's got no excuse to not be good.
Right. Yeah, if he's not the best quarterback in the NFL, then why?
And he had a couple years of strife. I'll give him that. He had a couple years where he actually had to try and be good. His early years when he first got into the league, because they weren't catering rules to the new guy yet. No. But down the stretch, yeah, right. He's had to adjust, he hasn't had to adjust much. They've adjusted to him.
So you're going Carolina.
I'm going Carolina. I think Carolina's going to upset the world.
They would have to, I think, because and we haven't even talked about Atlanta, who I think is a solid football team.
What are you talking about Atlanta for? Atlanta's no good.
You really want to go there? So I feel like
they should have been better last year. They
should have, yeah. They had a 7-9 year last year. You're absolutely right, and they should have been better, but they ended the year winning 4 straight. So they were 5-9, and you were like, oh, this team's terrible, and then won 4 straight, and actually were in the conversation to get a playoff spot at one point. So you couldn't rule them out, at least until the last week. So I'm just saying that's a team that, as bad as they played, is still kind of there. They got players, Calvin Ridley. They've got some Julio Jones. They're still going to be a good football team. I don't think you can count them out, and I think that they're going to be the spoiler in the division. That's who I think. They're going to be the ones who determine who wins that division, because they're going to be the ones that pull the upset of New Orleans or pull the upset of Tampa Bay.
That's fair.
Yeah. They'll have a big say in who wins it. Anyway.
Nothing like knowing that your division's hands are in somebody, or your division's champions in somebody else's hands.
Who's the best player in the NFC?
Christian McCaffrey.
Overall. Yeah?
Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey is the most electric player I may have ever watched who was drafted since I've been alive.
Do you think he probably should have had more say as a MVP candidate last
More
year?
saying what?
Like, we should have been talking about him more
Oh, absolutely.
than they did, because they had already given it to Patrick Mahomes.
Right. Yeah. It was wrapped up. It was done. Quarterbacks are a sexy position. It's hard to ignore what Patrick Mahomes did consistently. His team did not struggle, really. I mean, they struggled in the playoffs in that they would get down 21 and then win by 21. Doesn't make any sense, but it's how it went down with him. But no, it's yeah, he should have absolutely gotten more respect in the conversation, and he was not getting it. But
that's because they didn't win. They didn't win.
It's because they weren't winning. Yeah. If that team has 12 wins, 13 wins, yeah, you're immediately talking about him. And if they have 12, 13 wins, he probably also has 2,500 yards rushing. He's on pace, man. He's really good. When they would lose games, they start throwing the ball, and yeah, that's when his passing numbers go flying up, but his rushing numbers all take hits at that point.
So he had 1,387 rushing yards last year, 15 touchdowns, 1,000. He had 116 catches, 1,005 yards for 4 more touchdowns. How many times did he fumble the football last year? You
know? 3.
1.
Really?
1. This is a guy who touched the football, 287 rushes and 116 receptions. That's 400 touches. He fumbled the football 1 time. Yeah, that's amazing. 2,400 yards from scrimmage, basically. And every time he touches the ball, it's 6 yards.
He's so good. He is so good.
It is amazing.
And he can do anything you need him to do. I guarantee you he could throw the ball better than half the quarterbacks in the NFL.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he could. If
Kyler Murray can do it, Christian McCaffrey can do it better.
Yeah. Okay. So I will agree with you. I think Christian McCaffrey is probably the best all around, like I said, non-offensive, non-quarterback in NFL. I'm not going to say he's the best player in the NFL because I still think Lamar Jackson's better. But
I still think it's DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay. Who's playing where?
All around the NFL?
Who's playing?
Where is he? Oh, Cardinals.
He's playing for Arizona with Kyle Murray.
He's going to make Kyler Murray look really good.
I told you. Just wait.
Mike Evans made Johnny Manziel look really good back in the day. This guy's going to make Kyler Murray look really good. And everyone's going to be like, oh, Kyler, oh, he's throwing for 3,000 yards. Like, he threw for 1,500 to Mike Evans.
Hey, it doesn't matter how you get him. I mean, let's admit, they threw 116 passes to Christian McCaffrey last year. And you know that none of them traveled further than 5 yards in the air. So, anyway.
It's very true.
Okay. So, that's going to bring us to our trivia question answer. And does anybody remember what the trivia question was? No?
The dude with the thing in the place.
Yes, it is. So the trivia question brought to you by Stephenstone Wine Estates is, who is the oldest person to win the Heisman Memorial Trophy? That's the trivia question. And your answer is...
do not have one.
You don't have an answer?
I can't
take a guess.
Well, so like the oldest you're gonna be is like 22, like senior in college. Like maybe if it was back in the war times in the 30s and the 40s, you might have had somebody thrown in there who was 24, 25, 26. I'm gonna go with Tim Tebow.
Okay, Tim Tebow is wrong. But
wasn't he a junior? I think when he won his.
Yeah.
Oh no, he was a sophomore. He went back to back.
Yeah.
No, that wouldn't count. I've definitely know juniors who have won
it. So the answer, the person that won it in 2000. The oldest 2000, the year 2000, and he's from Florida State. And it's Chris Winkie.
Wow, nobody cares about Chris Winkie.
Chris Winkie was 28 years old and 131 days when he won the Heisman Trophy in 2000. Yeah, so Winkie, his senior year at Florida State, threw for 4,167 yards, 33 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He was pretty good. So I feel like he's one of those picks where you see him and you go, okay, his NFL career was awful. His first year he played for the Carolina Panthers, and they were 1-14 with him as a starter. So not great. Anyway, I think we lost Parker briefly. Are you back?
I accidentally shut. I was looking at the Chris Winkie stuff on my laptop, and then I just shut it.
He was so angry about the fact that it was Chris Winkie.
I was like, ah.
I was just letting everyone know he threw for 4,100. You probably heard it. 4,100 yards, 33 touchdowns. Yeah, he was good, and then he was 1-14 as a quarterback his first year in the NFL, and then he ended up playing like parts of 3 more seasons, and that was it. He did, however, go on to be a coach. He was a special offensive consultant at Alabama. He was an assistant coach for the Rams. He played for the Niners for his last football team in the pros. I don't know. So if you look at him now, he doesn't look like a quarterback. But that's, we all get old. So next time, Parker. I lost Parker. Nope, I got no audio. Anyway, next time it'll be up to Parker to get the trivia questions. But we're going to move along. So the bonus question was, who was second oldest player to win the Heisman? That's Billy Sims of the University of Oklahoma in 1978. He was 23 years and 78 days. So Chris Winkie was 5 years older than the second place guy. And 23 years is about what you'd expect for a guy to win the Heisman, a senior in high school, or a senior in college. Billy Sims ran for 1,725 yards that year for Oklahoma in 12 games. Our next show is coming to you on Sunday, August the 23rd at 1 p.m. Pacific. We are taking 1 week off next week to go play golf. It's vacation time for me. So we're going to make some bold predictions about the NFL playoffs in 2 weeks on our next show. We're going to talk about the NBA playoffs because those will be in full swing by the time we come back. We're going to keep you informed of all the news that we think is interesting. Hashtag get your own show. If you don't like it, start your own show. You can talk about whatever you want. Again, we're live streaming on YouTube every weekend. We're on Twitter at Lamm Sports, on Facebook under the Best Lamm Sports Show, and you can email us lammsports@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out the website lammsports.com. We want to thank our sponsors, The Range in Yakima, Boss Kitty Yarns, Stave and Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. This has been a Brain Rock production, division of Lone